What is up, comic book community? My name is Joe, and welcome back to another episode of 360 Comics. It has been so long since I've put out a full-length video like this. In fact, a couple of months. I've mostly been putting out like short-form content, so hopefully you've enjoyed that. But it's 2024. It was time to restart these full-length videos again, and what better way to do so than a collection that contained one of my favorite runs of all time, Claremont era X-Men stuff. Very excited to show off this collection. Stay tuned. We are currently running 2 giveaways right now. First one right here on YouTube for 3,500 subscribers. Once we hit that mark, we're going to be giving away this book right here, 9.8 Department of Truth #1. And I've also got, boom, an Instagram giveaway coming up. I haven't announced it yet, but if you're not following on Instagram, you definitely want to do so, because once we hit 10,000 subscribers, I'll be giving away this book right here, ASM number 238, first appearance of Hobgoblin, and some other prizes as well. So make sure, go follow over on Instagram, and if you're not subbed up on YouTube, do so. Good luck. All right, so let's get right into it. This collection came from a local Philadelphia comic book collector who bought these books back in the late 1980s and early 1990s while he was working at a comic store in California. And it was mostly X-Men stuff. In fact, before I got to his house, all I knew about was the X-Men stuff. But as you can see, there was a little bit more. This ended up being kind of an add-on to the collection. You know, we were working out the X-Men deal, and I said, hey, do you have anything else? And it's always good to ask, because he didn't even have it downstairs. He had to go back upstairs and pull out some other stuff. And this was one of the books in there, Secret Wars #8. You know what it is. Classic Origin of the Black Suit. Great cover. And yeah, one of the most important books of the 1980s. Also included in that other lot was this right here. This is a first print of Batman The Dark Knight Returns, and it actually had book 2, 3, and 4 as well, and a third print of issue #1. Kind of, I guess that was his reader copy or something like that, but in nice condition as well. So yeah, those were the only 2 non-X-Men books that I'm going to show off. There were some other ones, but not really worth it. We're going to start all the way back towards the end of the Claremont run, and we're going to go backwards. We're going to go reverse chronological order. So starting off with X-Men number 266 right here. This is the second appearance of Gambit, but it's the Gambit book that everyone goes after, mainly due to it being chronologically first, as well as it having Gambit on the cover and being a really nice cover as well. Then we're going to hop back to issue 244, the first appearance of Jubilee. I think this is a pretty underrated book. You know, I understand it's from the 90s. There's a lot of copies of it. But Jubilee is such a major character. Really surprised about, you know, the value of this not being higher. But, you know, give it some time. Maybe she shows up in the movies. Maybe she becomes a fan favorite, and that ends up happening. Hopping back a little farther to issue 221, the first appearance of Mr. Sinister. Now, there are rumors that Mr. Sinister is going to be the main bad guy of the continuation of the X-Men animated series, which is being released this year. It's going to be a Disney Plus show entitled X-Men 97, and it's going to pick up right where the X-Men animated series from the 90s left off, and apparently Mr. Sinister is going to be a major focus. I really hope so. I think he's a great character. I would have loved to see him in the movies if the Fox thing continued. They certainly were building up to it, but obviously that didn't happen. Hopefully we see him in the MCU as well. Going back even further, back to when John Byrne was on the run, we got Uncanny X-Men number 142. This is the second book of Days of Future Past, and it goes right along nicely with this book right here, issue 141. I consider this to be like the best ever 2-issue storyline in comic books. They even made a really good movie. I think that movie's underrated, Days of Future Past, based upon this storyline. And yeah, I mean, it's Claremont Byrne X-Men right at the end. This is actually right after these 2 issues. John Byrne only had one more issue before he ended up leaving the title, and Claremont did continue on for quite a few years after that. Going back to some Dark Phoenix Saga, first full cover appearance, second appearance, whatever you want to call this. Definitely a major book to get in this X-Men run. Awesome cover. Love it. It's been homaged so many times. And of course, to go along with that, you got the first appearance of Dark Phoenix, Uncanny X-Men number 134. And I always love to drop this little tidbit whenever I get this book. This book is mentioned actually in Episode 1, Season 1 of Stranger Things. I forget which characters it is, but two of the main characters, one's chasing the other one, and the other one's like, get back here. I'm gonna like, I think he says he's gonna rip it. Like, I'm gonna rip your X-Men 134. Or I'm gonna steal your X-Men 134. I forget exactly what the line is, but it's referenced in that show, which is so cool that they pulled things in, from that time period, because this certainly was, when it came out, a major book even already. Going back a little farther, a book that has been hot this year. X-Men 130, first appearance of Dazzler, with all the rumors about Taylor Swift playing this character in the MCU in Deadpool 3. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if she's going to be in the movie. I don't know if we're going to see Dazzler for a very long time, but it would be cool. I think it would be cool. People are kind of up in the air, whether you like Taylor Swift or not. I think it would be cool for them to bring, who's truly a pop culture phenomenon, whether you like her or not. She certainly is. Bringing her into the MCU to play, the pop star of the Marvel Universe. I think it would be cool. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but hey, I think it would be an interesting way to go about it. Then we got one issue before, another major key here, Uncanny X-Men 129, the first appearance of Kitty Pryde. This is a book that I don't often find. I buy X-Men collections very often because I love them and I search them out to upgrade my personal collection copies. And this is a book that I've only gotten in collections twice ever. Whether the person never had this issue or had sold it off previously or decided to keep it. It's just never really fallen into my lap, except for this time and once probably about 2 years ago. So now I got to compare this one to the copy that I have and see which one's higher grade and which one I'm going to keep. That's the case with a lot of these books, because again, this is a run that I personally collect, and it's always great to get those. So a lot of this stuff is going to be keepers in the PC. Anyway, X-Men number 121, first full appearance of Alpha Flight, and of course, to go along with it, issue 120, the first cameo appearance of Alpha Flight. I think they could do something with this in the movies. I've been saying that for a while, just kind of expanding the mutant universe, from the US team to the Canadian team. Also, having links to Wolverine, so on and so forth. And this character right here as well, X-Men number 109, first appearance of Weapon Alpha, Vindicator, whatever you want to call them. Weapon Alpha in this issue. Great cover. This is during Dave Cockrum's time on the artwork for the run. And just one of those classic Claremont Cockrum books. Going back to probably one of the most sought-after books in this collection. This is X-Men number 102. This is the first appearance of Phoenix. Jean Grey reborn as this character. Several instances in other media, whether they were good or bad. The television show, great job of portraying Phoenix. The movie, not so much, but hey, it is what it is. This is always going to be a very, very sought after early Claremont X-Men book. Then we got issue 100. This is the battle between the old team and the new team. And it's just a nice milestone issue as well. Again, early on in the Claremont run. Love the cover here, too, with this, the original X-Men team versus the newcomers from the Claremont run, stemming from Giant Size X-Men number 1. All right. Uncanny X-Men, or rather X-Men number 96. First appearance of Moira McTaggart. Great book. Kind of the building. This is one of those building block books that I consider, Chris Claremont hopping into this run, this X-Men run that had really fallen apart, not been super popular, kind of building up these characters, the supporting cast of the X-Men. This is definitely one of those books. Then we got X-Men number 95, The Death of Thunderbird, a very short-lived character. Also the first time that Nightcrawler, the word Bamf, the onomatopoeia Bamf, is used for his teleportation sound. Being a huge Nightcrawler fan, I gotta mention that. Even though it's a little minor key significance, it's one that I care about a little bit. On to the final two books. You probably can guess what they are. How about X-Men number 94? This is the first Chris Claremont X-Men book. This is the return of the series after a reprint hiatus that lasted from issue 67 all the way to 93. And this is the second appearance of all those characters whose first appearance is Giant Size X-Men 1, as well as the third full appearance, whatever you want to call it, of Wolverine. Early appearance of Wolverine. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. Now, speaking of Giant Size, that was also in the collection. This thing is nice too. If you were on my claim sale last week on Instagram, you might have noticed that I did sell a Giant Size X-Men 1. Well, that is because this copy is going to be replacing that the copy that was in my personal collection. This is definitely nicer than the one that I already had. And it's pretty sharp. I think it's probably in the lower VF range, maybe like 7.0, 7.5. But I also had some people look at it and say, hey, that thing might get an 8.0. You might be able to get that up there. There is a crease on the back, so it's really going to depend on how well I can kind of buff that out with some pressing and cleaning. That being said, so many of these books are upgrades to the personal collection. The X-Men 101, First Phoenix, is likely an upgrade. The Giant Size for sure. I don't think the X-Men 94 is, but I gotta look it over. It might be. I gotta compare the two because it's kind of close. They're both nicer mid-grade ones. So, yeah, that's a really great way to start off 2024, a phenomenal collection. If you couldn't guess, this collection actually did include every single book from the Claremont run. It was issue 94 all the way to 330, so beyond the Claremont run, and it also had the early 90s, the Jim Lee run, I think up to issue like 40, 50, something like that. Most of those books are just dollar bin books from that, but it does include the first Omega Red. I didn't really pull that one out for this. All these books are kind of more significant in my opinion. But yeah, that was also in there, as well as all the annuals, which it's always great to have those annuals. A lot of them are really underrated stories, and if you really want completion, that's what you got to include. Anyway, this collection, I'll give you a couple seconds to guess. Think about what I paid for it. I did pay up pretty well just because a lot of it was stuff that I want for my PC. But the total amount that I paid was $4,200. $4,200 for everything you see here, as well as all of the other issues mentioned. Again, complete run, Giant Size X-Men 1, Giant Size X-Men 2, all the annuals, and issue 94 all the way to 330. Again, a lot of those later issues, bulky stuff, but a lot of these early issues, really, really timeless Bronze Age keys. So let me know in the comments how you think I did. Did I overpay? I don't think I did, mainly because of the condition of the book. They're mostly in that, like the worst book is like probably in the fine range, with a lot of the books being very fine and near mint. So I think I did pretty well, but you can voice your opinions in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and give me a follow on Instagram. Hopefully, I will be continuing these full-length videos in 2024. Thank you for all staying subscribed or subscribing for the first time here. And until next time, turn the page, wash your hands.